Police investigation continues into solving the murder mystery of a man found dead in Halif, Horafushi. Police Commissioner Ahmad Fasih, along with the Deputy Commissioner Muhammad Dilwan, are leading the investigation in Horafushi on request by President Muhammad Nasheed. A witness at the scene told MNBC Channel 1 that Hussein Manik was found dead in an uninhabited house early morning on Tuesday. His hands and legs were bound together, according to the witness. Hussein Manik ran a petroleum business at Horafushi. A pocketbook and a small handbag were found on the crime scene. The bag was supposedly used by Hussein Manik to bank his money. Hussein Manik had been living in Horafushi for more than 30 years. His family started searching for him when he did not return home from work. President Muhammad Nasheed condemned the attack and sent condolences to Hussein Manik's family. President urged Maldives Police Service to investigate this case seriously. Maldives Police Service has put a ban on travelling, blocking anyone to leave the island. Residents of Horafushi blame the attack on alleged drug gangs operating in the island. People have reacted fiercely to the incident, breaking down the huts and setting fire on places the alleged gangs used to hang out. Human Rights Commission of the Maldives issued a press release today condemning the murder. The Cabinet approves its rule of procedure. The approval came after the Cabinet deliberations on a paper with input from members of the Cabinet. The rules of procedure include provisions on the Cabinet's main characteristics, executing ministerial responsibilities, accountability to the President, dealing with issues of conflict of interest, participation in organizations and societies, and delegation of Cabinet functions. On the 3rd of August, the Cabinet approved relevant clauses for engaging with the Parliament. At today's meeting, the Cabinet also discussed implementation of the Disability Act. Ministers of small island developing states addressed their nation's most pressing vulnerabilities at a UN headquarters press conference held to coincide with the General Assembly high-level review of the Mauritius strategy agreed upon 5 years ago to help chart a path to sustainable development. The panel of participants included Peter David, Minister of Foreign Affairs for Grenada, Jo Natuman, Minister of Foreign Affairs for Vanuatu, and Mohamed Aslam, Minister of Housing and Environment of Maldives. Aslam said that while no one claims that small island developing states are the only vulnerable states in the world, special conditions do exist which put them at particular risk.
Ministers of small island developing states addressed their nation's most pressing vulnerabilities today at a headquarters press conference held to coincide with the General Assembly high-level review of the Mauritius strategy agreed upon 5 years ago to help chart a path to sustainable development. The panel of participants included Peter David, Minister for Foreign Affairs of Grenada, Janet Tuman, Minister for Foreign Affairs of Vanuatu, and Mohamed Aslam, Minister of Housing and Environment of the Maldives. Mr. Aslam said that while no one was claiming that small island developing states were the only vulnerable states in the world, special conditions did exist which put them at particular risk.
You know, there's a distinct difference between us and some other vulnerable states. Our coastline to the area, the ratio of that is vastly different from some of the other states we talk about. So there are certain special conditions, and the fact the rise in sea level and the elevation of our islands, that is an obvious threat for everyone. The special condition we are in. We're not just talking about droughts. We're talking about sinking of the islands. That's what we're talking about.
Mr. David said that while some progress had been made towards development objectives in the fields of gender equality, education and child mortality, there was much left to be accomplished. Business as usual could not continue, he said, as small island developing states were in a position of unique vulnerability to the increasing effects of climate change. Survival strategies needed to be devised to assist those most vulnerable populations. Even as islands grew increasingly resilient in their own efforts, such enterprises were not enough. He called for partner and donor countries to make good on their promises and commitments. Haiti, for example, had difficulty receiving what had been committed. It was important to scale up responses to that and other such disasters. When asked by a correspondent if climate change was advancing more quickly than anticipated, Mr. Aslam said that there could be no doubt as to the scientific reality of global climate disruption, since small island developing states were feeling its very real effects.
For us, climate science, there's no doubt in it. Climate change is happening. The sea level is rising at a rate that the sea has not risen over the geological history. And it is all because of what we have done since the Industrial Revolution. And so therefore, the change in climate, what we see right now, is an anthropogenic effect, and there is no doubt in it. As to the rate, whether it is rising at a faster rate than what we have anticipated, I don't know about that. But what I can tell you is us, the small island states, in many of us, we are seeing the effects that were predicted by the climate scientists, as the result of a changed climate. When the issue was spoken about, there was, predicted effects for us, increased storm events, in the frequency and the magnitude of storms, increased rate of coastline erosion, and death of coral reefs, or bleaching. We are seeing more frequent of these events. And therefore, for us, if we make a correlation between the evidence that we are seeing and what was predicted, for us, yes, it is happening, and it is certainly happening for us, at least at a very alarming rate. And we cannot continue this to happen for many years to come, and there has to be an end to this immediately.
Asked what the largest contributors were to such adverse climate conditions, Mr. Aslam said it was quite obviously carbon emissions. The path that humanity had chosen during the industrial evolution had led to this, through the luxury of vehicles and other modes of transport. Mr. Aslam said, stressing that we need not give up those luxuries or path of development. We must choose an alternative way.
We can only do, to a certain extent, what by ourselves. We need partners. We need people, but we will do whatever we can, with or without anyone's help. But we can only do so much, and we are here to lead by example and to show that it can be done.
Government chooses North Ariatol Ukulas to host the Fishermen's Day celebrations this year. According to the Ministry of Fisheries and Agriculture, the decision was made by the Fisheries Advisory Board. Apart from the celebrations at Ukulas, Fisheries Ministry informed that an international seafood exhibition will be organized in capital Male on the occasion of the Fishermen's Day. This will be the first seafood exhibition to be held in Maldives. Fishermen's Day is marked on the 10th of December every year. Last year's Fishermen's Day celebrations were held at North Tiladumati, Ihavandu.